Okay, so to start learning diatonic button accordion or melodeon, first you need to work out how you're going to hold it. There are 3 different ways that I'm going to recommend and show you. A lot of these ways, I find one way will work better for one person than another. So try one way. If it's not immediately comfortable and easy, then try one of the other ways. See what works best for you. It might also depend on your instrument and what kind of straps you've got. So if you've got 2 straps, then first way to try is with 2 straps tight on the body like this. This way has a few practical advantages. I guess one of the main ones is if you want to play sitting down or standing up, they end up feeling the same. And also, if you just need to sit on seats of different height, things like that, in the other playing positions, that can cause you problems, whereas like this, doesn't matter too much. So yeah, try and get your 2 straps. Start off really with the shortest length that they'll adjust to, that you find you're able to, get the straps over your shoulders okay, because you do really want to go quite tight to the body. The idea with this position is, the straps are sort of holding the box tight in to your torso, so that even without a hand there to control the treble end, you can keep it pretty still while you work the bellows in and out. You can test that out by, you'll want your left hand through the bass strap over here, and the thumb always touches this air button, the air release. So use that to just test out how stable the position is, work bellows in and out. And if you find you can hold it pretty steady like this, you might want to go with this playing position. If you just have 1 strap, then what you'll usually find is you want it adjusted longer. So if you were going to go with 1 strap, the first way I would try is just with the treble end sitting on your left leg. So if you put the strap over your right shoulder, push the box as far to your left as it will go, and then just drop it down onto your leg. And if you go in this position, one of the important things that helps is don't have the box sitting too upright, because that's where it really tends to wobble around the most easily. You want to actually tilt it away from you like that, so again it's pulling more tension into the strap, and that will leave it feeling like the bellows are kind of hanging down off your leg. So in this position, when you open the bellows, don't really think of it as like pulling them outwards. Think of it as just dropping the bellows. So when you put the air button down, just the weight of the bass end and your arm will just carry the end down and the bellows outwards, and then push back against that. Same movement in reverse. So that's the second position you might want to try, 1 strap and sitting on the left leg. If neither of those positions work out well for you, then this position tends to help a lot of people, which is to go with 1 strap, and then how you sit for this position is very important. You need to sit right at the front of your seat, sort of perched on the edge of your seat. Put your right knee straight out in front of you and your right foot flat on the floor, but then drop your left knee. It needs to be a good few inches lower than your right. Most people will go with that left foot tucked away under their body, but you can also just stick your left leg straight out in front of you, or take it over to one side, whatever makes it feel like you can get comfortable. And then in this position, you can bring the treble end up against the inside of the right leg, because the idea with all these positions really is you want there to be tension in the right strap especially, so when you pull on the bellows, you're pulling away from where the right shoulder strap meets your shoulder, so that's going to keep that end still. And then you need some way of keeping the box still as you push back on the bellows as well. So in this position, you're just pushing against the inside of your right leg. So once you've chosen which of the 3 positions is going to work for you, or which you're going to try first at least, then getting your 2 hands in position is kind of similar for all these positions. The left hand, so you're going far enough through the bass strap that you can take your 4th finger, your pinky, your little finger, and put it on the furthest button to reach, so the one that's closest to the bellows, closest to the floor. Line that up there, and then your thumb needs to be able to touch the air release. Some of these are a lever that push in and out, some of them are a little button that pull up and down, but either way you need your thumb touching it and able to use it all the time. and then just line the other 4 fingers up on the buttons, and you should be able to move your fingers just from outer row to inner. Some people end up using not all fingers on the left hand. Some people find it more comfortable to just use 3 or just 2 even. But I would try all 4 first, because most people I find can get on fine with 4, and if you can, then that has some advantages for you later on. So try using all 4 fingers first. For the tune we're going to be learning today, we're only going to use the first 2 fingers on the top buttons anyway, so it won't make a difference for now. And then for right hand position, you want to first get your hand as relaxed as you can. So just think, how would your hand be if you were asleep or just sitting relaxed with your hand by your side? And then keeping your hand like that, bring it up to the keyboard so that the thumb touches the outside edge of the keyboard. No other part of your hand is going to touch that outer edge of the keyboard. And the fingers will then just rest over the buttons, slightly curved fingers. So you're not bracing the thumb out, you're not using very straight fingers. Relaxed thumb, relaxed fingers, the thumb will be pointing slightly upwards, so that your hand's just in a very natural position, like this. And then what you'll find is, to bring the hand to the keyboard like that, that will probably put your elbow sticking out to your side a bit like this. Try not to tuck your elbow in. If you do that, you'll end up with a bent wrist. And it's always good to try and keep, every joint in the middle of its range of motion, for maximum sort of playing comfort. And to avoid injuring yourself. So yeah, elbow hovering out where it allows the most relaxed right hand position. Okay, so now you're holding everything properly, you're ready to start learning a tune. You can follow this tutorial on several different kinds of box, by the way. So if you've got a 2-row GC like I've got here, that's ideal. But also if you've got a 3-row GC with accidentals, GCF is fine for this, or even a 1-row melodeon in G. It'll work out the same on all of them. So to find where you need your right hand, we're going to be playing on the outside row, and for all the instruments I just mentioned, it's going to be the outside row, so further away from the bellows. And we need to find G with our index finger. It's right in the middle of the keyboard, so takes a moment to get yourself lined up. If you're on a 2-row with 21 buttons on the right hand like this, so 11 on that row, 10 on that row, then you can line up your pinky on the 3rd button from the top. So just count 1, 2, 3 down, and then line up 4 fingers on 4 buttons. And if you play your index finger and push on the bellows, you should get that note, G. If you've got a longer keyboard, then you might find you need to be 4 buttons down. Or again, yeah, different kinds of boxes you might need to get in a different place. But once you've found this note on the push, somewhere in the middle of your row, a G, then you're ready to learn the tune. We're only going to use 3 fingers, and I'm going to be referring to these fingers by numbers. Apologies if you've learned piano in the past, because it's different from how, like, pianists usually call the thumb 1, but we don't. We call the index finger 1, middle finger 2, ring finger 3, and your little finger or your pinky 4. And yeah, that's the same way that violinists and guitarists number their fingers, and it's what we tend to use because the thumb isn't really used very much. So we're going to be using finger 1, 2 and 3 to play the tune. 1 is lined up on G. And I'll just play the tune all the way through first, both hands, and this is hopefully how you'll be able to play it by the end of the lesson. Okay, and I included a couple of slight variations there that we'll maybe look at the end of the lesson. But overall the tune's nice and simple. So we're going to start off, by the way, I will put some sheet music up on the screen. If you already read it, then use that as much as you find it useful. But don't worry if you've never looked at any sheet music before and you don't know any music theory, you don't need to. I'll show you everything in terms of just what the fingers do. If you are reading sheet music, by the way, again, you might find it helpful even if you've never read any sheet music before, because there's a handy visual cue that works for this part of the scale at least, which is that all of the notes on lines are played on the push and all the notes on spaces are played on the pull. Just don't get it in your head that that's a universal rule, because that will change as you go up further up and down the scale, and it'll change on the other row. But for the notes we're using for this tune at least, that's true. The three middle lines on the sheet music are your three fingers. Index finger, the second line up, middle finger, the third line up in the middle, and your ring finger, finger 3, is the second line from the top. And your three fingers on the pull are the bottom 3 of the 4 spaces. So even if you don't know any note names, then you can follow along using that. And looking at the sheet music can help. And yeah, what people tend to find especially useful with sheet music for complete beginners is when we start putting the left hand onto the tune. If you're able to look at the sheet music and relate what you're doing to the notes you can see on the page, that makes getting the left hand lined up quite a lot easier. So yeah, even if you've never read any sheet music before, just having a look at this now might actually help you along with it. So we're going to start off just playing push notes. 3 push notes coming down, finger 3, then 2, then 1. And hopefully you can hear that that first note I'm playing with finger 3 is longer than the other 2. So the timing you can count as 1, 2, and 3, 4, and 1, 2, and we're counting everything in 4s. There's 4 in each bar or measure. Okay, and then to complete that second measure, we're going to play finger 2 on the pull. Sorry, by the way, I'm probably going to be just switching randomly back and forth between British and American music terms. So yeah, bar or measure, depending on where you're from. Okay, that's our first 2 measures. I'll just play that quite a bit slower so you can try and play along with this. So I'll count you in after 4. So 3 and 4 and... Okay, and that last note is 2 beats long. When you get a longer note like that, it can help with your timing, and it's quite a good habit to get into right from the beginning. Sort of play it like it's 2 separate notes, but leave the finger on the button. So if you sort of give the bellows a little extra pull on the 4th beat, so we're doing 1, 2, and 3, 4, and 1, 2, and 3, 4. So on 4, just a little extra pull of the bellows. That partly helps later for putting in rhythm and emphasis, but for now, just helps you get your timing straight. Okay, this is the next 2 measures. Depending on your previous musical experience, by the way, some of you might be able to follow this a lot quicker, but I'm going to keep this slow enough for anyone to follow who hasn't done any of this sort of thing before. So 3, 2, 1 down the pull notes, and then back up 1 and 2. So this is the first time we've had 2 of the same note, one after the other. And something that's really important to get in your technique right from the start, where you get 2 of the same notes, lift the finger off the button and then put it back down. You don't make 2 notes by pulling twice on the bellows, because you can hear that's sort of, yeah, not the cleanest separation. Whereas if we just leave the pressure on the bellows and lift the finger, then you get a nice clean separation between those notes. The timing of that is 1, 2, 3, 4, and okay. And the fourth bar is that. So finger 3, 2, 3 on the pull, and then 2 and 1 on the push. So you can see we're tending to stay all on the pull or all on the push for long runs of notes. And again, worth saying, these are not like separate pulls for each note. You're not playing like pull, 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 pull. You're just doing one smooth pull, leave the pressure on the bellows. And it barely takes any pressure, especially when you're playing just the right hand like this. You don't really need to think, oh, I'm moving the bass end out to the side. Just think, I'm just going to slightly relax my left arm, let the weight of my arm pull down the bellows. And that's more than enough pressure. Okay, so on the pull, 3, 2, 1, lift, 1, 2, 3, 2, 3, and then push, 2, 1. Okay, and the timing, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 1, 2, and 3, 4. Okay, just slowly one more time those two measures. So 3 and 4 and. Okay, if you want any of this to go even slower, by the way, then at time of recording, you're able to change the speed on YouTube videos. Down at the bottom there'll be a settings button, and you can slow this down to 3/4 speed, half speed, whatever you like. Okay, so we've got 4 measures all together. Practice each bit of 2 measures until you've got them easily, and then we'll try and put all 4 together. And things go a bit quicker after this because there's a lot more repetition after you've got these 4 measures. Okay, so starting at the beginning, it's 3 and 4 and. Okay, so make sure you can do that first. Everything else is going to be building on that. So again, take however long you need. Make sure that's running fine. Do it through a couple of times. And if you look at the second line on the sheet music, then you'll see that this is almost exactly the same. First measure's the same, second measure's the same, third measure's the same, and it's only the 4th measure that's any different. So we'll play this 4th measure on its own first, and then we'll go back and link everything together. So if you look just at the 4th measure, the last measure on the second line, then we've got notes on spaces, so you can see those are going to be pulls, and it's finger 3, 2, 1. You can also, again, even if you've never looked at sheet music before, start using this to see the rhythm. So this first black note, a crotchet or a quarter note, depending on where you're from. So we're counting 1 on that, 1. And then the 2 notes that are linked together, quavers or 8th notes, are half the length of that first note. So you count 2 and 1, 2 and the final note, white note, is a minim or a half note. That's twice as long as the first note was. So you count out your 2 beats, 3, 4. So to get our count of 4, we're counting 1, 2, and 3, 4. Okay, and again, just being able to look at that and see how that works is going to help you later when you're putting the left hand together. But don't worry if looking at sheet music's not your thing. You can keep doing this just by listening to the rhythms. Okay, so I'll now play the whole of the second line on the sheet music, which means we're going to play the first 3 measures, 3 bars of what we did slowly with the first 4, but now we're putting on that different 4th measure at the end. It's going to go like this, 3, 4. So you've now got kind of the same thing twice but with two different endings. Once you've worked on those separately, try and put it all together. So I'm going to play you now the top 2 lines on the sheet music, 8 measures, what we'd also call the A part of the tune, and then the other 2 and the B part. So it goes like this, 3, 4. Okay, so if you can do that, congratulations. If you can't, then yeah, just take your time, go back over it, try and get that all running first before we worry about the rest of the tune. So yeah, as I say, that you would call the A part, and then the second half of the tune we call the B part, where it's going to go a little bit differently. But again, just having a look at the sheet music, even if you're not really reading it as such, you can still just play a bit of spot the difference. And you can see how much of the bottom 2 lines is going to be just the same as the top 2 lines. So if you compare the first line to the third line, you'll actually see that the second, third and fourth measure are exactly the same. And if you compare the second and fourth lines, again, you'll see the second, third and fourth measure are exactly the same. So we've only got one different measure, one different bar to play at the start of the third line. And then if you look at the fourth line, that's the same first bar, first measure there as well. So that means, yeah, we've only actually got one more measure to learn, and then we've done the whole tune. Okay, so we've got notes on lines, so that means pushes. So it's the G first, your index finger, middle finger on the B. And again, it's 2 notes, the same one after the other. So we're going to lift the finger, keep pushing on the bellows, keep a clean separation. And you can hear I'm actually deliberately making that first B, the push note on the middle finger, quite short, to really exaggerate that separation. And that's fairly usual in how you phrase things. Okay, so then just carry on into the second measure, which is the same as the second measure that you've played earlier. So once you can play just that first measure and link it into the second, you should now be able to play the whole of the B part, gradually putting this together. And again, work at your own speed. You might need to go back and do shorter sections. If you're finding it difficult to get through much of this without making mistakes, then play just one measure until you can play it 3 times round in a row correctly with no mistakes. Then go up to playing 2 measures, and again until you can do it 3 times in a row. 3 times in a row is always a good rule. And you can do that for the first 2 measures, third and fourth, and so on. Just break it down in sections. Once you're consistent at doing that, move up to doing 4 measures at a time, and so on. So just gradually build up the length of what you're doing if you're finding that you're not yet able to play the whole thing through with no mistakes. It's good to try and be really accurate right from the beginning. We build up the playing as we go along and make it more complicated, but just playing accurately is something that you can really try for right from the beginning. It's a lot easier to learn everything very accurately but very slowly and then speed things up later, rather than learning things a bit messily and then trying to tidy them up later. That doesn't tend to work so well. So really try and be patient with it, get everything fully accurate before you speed anything up. Okay, so I'll just play this B part through so that you can play along with this, and then we'll do the whole tune. So the B part, 3 and 4 and... Okay, These parts aren't repeated, by the way. Often you get an A part that's repeated and then a B part that's repeated in longer tunes, but in this tune it's just the A part once, the B part once, and so on back and forth. So I'll play the whole tune now to try and play along with A's and B's. When you're ready, try and have a play along with this. And again, remember you can adjust the speed if you need to. So 3 and 4 and... Okay, so when you can play that all the way through, congratulations, you can play a tune on your right hand, but we're now going to move on to playing accompaniment on the left hand as well. So if you are playing a 2-row GC box, then the buttons you're going to want, we're only going to need 2 buttons, are the ones at the top of the box, and over on this side I do mean the ones near the ceiling. And on the outside, so further away from the bellows, so these 2 buttons. They're all arranged in pairs with a bass note and a chord. So we're often going to just alternate playing bass chord, and as with the notes on the right hand, they play different notes on the push and the pull. So on the push here we have a G bass, a G chord, and on the pull a D bass and a D chord. Okay, and we can play an accompaniment to the tune just by alternating. So that's what we're going to learn to do. Have a go at just doing that on your own first. You might be in the lucky minority of people who just find that they can just start alternating fingers on that hand, and if you know the tune well enough on this hand, you'll just be able to keep it going while you put them together. But for most people, we're going to need to break things down and do that more slowly. And again, this is where the sheet music will really help you out, whether you're reading it or just sort of half reading it and yeah, following along, seeing that each note is one note that you're playing. So I'm going to show you a copy now of the sheet music where I've written underneath just a letter B meaning bass or a letter C meaning chord. And as you can see, in every measure there's just going to be B, C, bass chord. And that'll just help you see how they line up with the notes, because the important thing is there is not one left-hand note for every right-hand note. The left-hand rhythm is completely steady. If that was written out in the sheet music, it would just be 4 crotchets or 4 quarter notes. But the right-hand rhythms are more complicated, so they're going to meet up differently. So the first D, your third finger on the push, gets the bass. The second note, B, which is your middle finger on the push, gets the chord. And then the third note, the G, the index finger on the push, is just on its own. So we're playing bass, chord, nothing. Okay? So just make sure you can get through those 3 solidly. So D with a bass, B with a chord, G with nothing. And you can start looping that round, because as you can see in the tune, we're going to get those same 3 notes 3 times in a row. So okay, and for now as well, I'd recommend that the notes you're playing on the left hand, just play short taps on the basses. We might want to make those longer later for a better sound, but it's easier for now if you just keep them as short taps. so they won't actually be as long as your right hand notes. Feels more like, you know, if you're using a mouse, you just click the mouse button, you're just going to tap the basses like that. Okay, and then this longer note, this A on the pull, that's going to get the bass and then the chord. Make sure that you can hear that the right hand note continues in between. So we're playing the A with the bass lifts off, there's a gap where you can just hear the A, you tap the chord, and you can still hear a bit more of the note after that as well. Okay, so now ready to put two measures together. So that's 3 and 4 and... Okay, and then next measure, again, we're all on the pull here. So we're playing finger 3 with the bass, finger 2 with a chord, finger 1 with a bass, finger 1 again with a chord. And I mentioned earlier that you want to make sure you're lifting the finger between those two repeated notes, those two F sharps. Just make sure you're still doing that once you put the basses in, because once you're doing a few extra things, yeah, that can take your mind off things you ought to be thinking about. It's also a good time to check that you've still got a good right hand position, because again, a lot of people find that they start off with this just the way they want it, and then again, as you're thinking more about what notes you should be playing and starting to get the left hand involved, things slip and you start putting the side of the hand against the keyboard, or your thumb goes somewhere you don't want it to. So yeah, just check everything's still looking good as you start putting this left hand in. And again, careful of the note that doesn't get a bass note. So that's bass, chord, bass, chord, and nothing. Another thing to watch out for here, I've taught enough beginners to know that, yeah, a really common mistake that trips a lot of people up, when there's two notes the same on the right hand, and the first has a bass, a lot of people will automatically play the bass again. If you're playing the same note twice on the right, the left hand sort of wants to join in with that sometimes. So you have to remind yourself that it's a bass, and then a chord on this repeated note, and nothing on the next note. Fourth measure, so we've got third finger on the pull with a bass, second finger on the pull with a chord, third note, this on the third finger on the pull has nothing, and then the last two notes that are push have one of each, a bass and a chord. Okay, so again, depending on how easy or difficult you're finding this, you might find you need to go through this and break down each measure, do it on its own, try and get it right a few times in a row before you then go up to trying to do two measures together. But once you've got that working, I'll now play you the first four measures with both hands, and you can check this is working out the same for you. But yeah, be very, very mindful of checking that you're doing this accurately. It's always harder to spot your mistakes if they don't sound too bad. And sometimes if the left hand goes out of sync and you end up playing, you know, two basses in a row or two chords in a row, things go out of sequence, it might not sound that bad, it might not, you know, immediately jar with you, so it's harder to notice. So you just need to really check, ask yourself, right, am I playing bass then chord, then bass then chord? You can always film yourself trying to play along with this and then check yourself later. But yeah, just try and be mindful of it. So top line, four measures. So we're going to go 3 and 4 and... Okay, and then we know that the next three measures are the same as we've already dealt with. So just the last measure of the second line is going to be this. So C, third finger on the pull with a bass, A, second finger on the pull with a chord, F sharp, first finger on the pull on its own, and then the last push note G on the index finger gets that bass and the chord. Okay. And you could now go back and try and play the whole A part through, but since there's only one more measure to deal with how we put the left hand to, we'll just do that as well, and then we can play the whole tune. So the first note of the B part, starts at the third line. So we've got push notes here, finger 1 with the bass, finger 2 with the chord. Remember again, lift the finger and make sure you are alternating on the left hand. So this is now finger 2 on the push with the bass, and then 1 with a chord, and finger 2 on its own. Again, really careful to not put extra bass notes on those second in pairs of quavers or eighth notes that shouldn't get anything. And once you can put those two measures together, you're getting to the point now where you can have a go at playing the whole tune with both hands. So it's going to go like this. So 3 and 4 and... Okay, so if you're able to play that all along with me playing there, then congratulations, you can now play a tune on both hands. How long this takes to get, it varies a lot for different people. People who've played other instruments before especially, and are already familiar with sheet music and have been using that to help them. And especially if you've played an instrument like piano, we've already done, independent things on the two hands. A lot of people might have, followed this along very easily and be able to do it all immediately. But don't worry if it's taking you a lot longer, especially if you've not played a similar instrument before in the past. This can take quite a while to put together and get working accurately. And again, just don't rush yourself. You really want to get to a point where you can play every part of the tune completely accurately, rather than, trying to hurry things along and get it kind of working but a bit sloppy. Go for complete accuracy, even if it's quite slow for a while and takes a while to build up the fluency. So before we add any like embellishments to this tune or do any other things to get it sounding a bit fancier, one thing we should really talk about is the air button. So this is really important in playing, and something that beginners sometimes end up skipping over. Even as you've been learning this tune, you might find things like this happen when you start playing the tune, but then you run out of air before you've finished playing all your push notes. So it's important to keep the bellows always in the position that you need them just to be able to get through the tune for a start. So because the tune starts with lots of push notes, you're going to want the air button down and make sure your bellows are wide open to start, and then you should be able to get through all your pushes. Again, especially if you're keeping those bass notes short. But suppose you started a bit too far out and you played those pushes, but you're still all the way out there, then you might find that once you start playing your pull notes, you're getting kind of uncomfortably far out, and again, it's got a bit juddery and it's awkward, or you're even not able to sound them. So again, we need to just manage this a little bit. So first of all, we'll just do a couple of basic exercises with the air button. If you just get in your normal playing position, start with your bellows tight shut, so put the air button down, close up your bellows, and just then put the air button down and see how quickly you can open them out fully. Just like that, do a big, hard pull, get the bellows out to really the farthest stretch that feels comfortable. As you do this, try and still keep your fingers lined up on the bass notes. And I'd recommend in particular, even though we haven't been using these buttons yet, keep them lined up on the row of buttons that's nearer to the bellows, because that's just, slightly harder and just sort of tests your left hand position more. So thumb down, fingers staying on the buttons, draw the bellows out all the way, and then again you can put the air button down, close up the bellows. So just get a feel for how much air that air release button lets in and out, and how much faster you can move the bellows when it's held. We'll then start playing some notes while using that. So if you play, you can play any notes on the on your left hand for this. I'm going to play this one, my third button from the bottom on the G row, but it doesn't matter. If you start with your bellows tight shut, and you're going to play just one pull note, no air button for now, and then put the air button down and play that note again, and you're just getting a feel for how much harder do you have to pull on the bellows to get the note to sound the same, because if you just pull the same amount, what you'll find is that note is very faint or doesn't sound at all. So you need to then pull harder, move the bellows further, and then you'll get the notes sound the same, like this. And this is the idea, is that, you know, by having the air button held down when you play a note, you're trying to get it to sound the same, but you're going to move the bellows further, so this is how you can manage where your bellows end up. Once you're out there, stay out there and then do the same on the push. So play one push note without the air button, and then again with the air button. And you can loop that round. Okay, and that's again just a little exercise to get you using the air button. Another one you can do is playing up and down a row of push notes. So again, if you start on the third button, start with the bellows just somewhere in the middle and play on the push, finger 1, 2, 3, 4, 3, 2, 1. And then you can play one pull note on finger 1 with the air button. So the idea of this is you're playing more push notes than pull notes, but by using the air button, you can balance things out so that you could keep playing those notes around on a loop and you would never run out of air. Whereas if you were trying to play that phrase round and round without any air button, you'd quickly end up with your bellows too tight in and not be able to play the push notes. You can do the same on the pull as well, just to get used to using it the other way. So pull notes, and one push note with the air button. Okay, so you're starting to get a little bit used to how this works. What's a bit trickier now is getting the left hand to keep working the way we want it to while we're using the air button as well. So for the next exercise, you're going to play we'll stick with the bass and chord we were using in the tune we've just learned. And it's a similar exercise. You're going to start with the bellows tight shut. You're going to play a bass, then a chord, short taps on the pull. But then put the air button down, leave it held down while you play another bass and another chord. A lot of people find this quite tricky at first. Things that usually go wrong, you might find that you play short tap, and then as you hold the air button down, you end up sticking down on these buttons and ending up with longer basses, longer chords. You want them to sound as similar as possible to the ones that you're playing without the air button. So tap, tap, and then get the air button down first. That's what helps. Thumb's already down, so you can now forget about the thumb. Play your short tap bass, short tap chord. The other thing that often goes wrong that you want to look out for is you want to keep the bellows moving smoothly once the air button's down. So we're not just playing pull, pull with the air button down, because then we're not getting much air. It's that we want to play air button down, bellows moving, tap, bellows still moving, tap, bellows still moving a bit after that. So then you can get really fully extended, and then you're going to play the same back on the push. So you play the bass without the air button, chord without the air button down, bellows moving, bass, chord. And it's really good, this exercise, because it just really fully tests out your playing position, makes sure everything's working together, Keep your right hand in its normal playing position while you're doing this. Don't do anything like grip onto the strap or anything. Just try and stay in your normal playing position. And loop the exercise around. Try and keep the timing even. Try and keep the volume of the notes the same when they're with or without the air button. And that'll just get things working together. You can then move on to trying a bit of air button in the tune. As I say, you might find that you can play the tune okay without the air button. It's not really necessary because the tune's quite balanced, but it's good to just start putting in a bit anyway, just to test out that you can use the air button while playing a tune. So if you start with the bellows wide open, and then think, right, we've got a measure and a half of playing on the push. These are going to be the last two push notes. Put the air button down a bit with them, just to get the bellows to the point where they're nearly tight shut. So that then as we're starting the pull, we've got the most room, you know, we've got the most bellows left to do this. And we're just coming up to the last two pull notes. So now again, I'll put the air button down. In fact, sorry, I was ahead of myself. So here are the last two pull notes. So the air button goes down. And then we play the push note. So by just using the air button a little bit at the end of an all push phrase or an all pull phrase, then we're just getting the bellows in the best position to then play the next part of the tune that's all push or all pull. And that's sort of how you start using it. You know, in a tune that's got a lot more push notes than pull notes, you'd be trying to use the air button on, you know, maybe most of the pull notes. And in a tune that's almost all on the pull, very few push notes, then you use the air button on the push notes, just to balance things out, get the bellows back where you want them. So just something worth starting to think about and try those exercises. So now some things we can do with the tunes, just get it sounding a bit more developed. We'll look at the left hand first. So we're going to start playing a slightly different pattern. Instead of playing all 4 beats, bass, chord, we're going to start missing out that third beat, the second bass. So we're going to play bass, chord, nothing, chord, bass, chord, nothing, chord. And this is used a lot for schottisches like this. So you're going to start going through and just finding where those basses were and taking them out. So D without now, and then B with a chord. And then once we're in the next measure, we start the pattern again with a bass, but miss out this chord at the start of the A, and then play the chord as normal. Okay. And for now I'm still just playing short taps on the left hand as we did when we first learned it. But the next step you can take in developing that left hand is to vary the lengths of the notes you're hitting. So we could play a long bass, a short tap on the chord, and then a longer final chord on beat 4. So we're playing 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Not necessarily in those directions, but that's what the fingers are doing. And that will sound like this. Same thing through the B part. Sorry, I'm speeding up by quite a bit now. This is just some little extras for the people who are getting the rest of it easily and want something extra to try and do. Okay, and then one final thing you might want to try, again, if you've found everything so far nice and easy to cope with and you can do all this confidently. I'll give you some little variations for the melody on the right hand. And I'm going to particularly do these so that they require you to make quicker movements on the bellows. So far this tune's it's an easy one for beginners to learn because it just has long phrases that are all push and then long phrases that are all pull. But a lot of tunes you deal with as you go on will require you to sort of move the bellows quicker in and out as you go up and down the scale for this kind of playing on one row anyway. So yeah, I'll show you the sheet music for the way I'm going to vary the tune. So you can just see I'm going to add in here, rather than playing this D quarter notes it was before, I'm going to play D and C eighth notes. So that's requiring me to play 3 on the push, 3 on the pull, and then 2 and 1 on the push as we had them before. Just there, so the others stay as they were. So. Okay, and then yeah, third measure we'll leave as it was. But here in the fourth measure as well, I'll change this B, and instead of playing the B quarter note, I'll play B, A, G. So push and pull on the second finger, and push on the first finger. Okay, so that top line is now going to go like this. Okay, and we can yeah, just add the same one into the first measure of the second line. But this will leave as it was. Okay, and then in the B parts, so again on the third beat of that first measure, so the second B, we're going to change it from a B quarter note into B and A eighth notes, so that we get that. And we've kept here, again, B and A. Okay, and if you get the hang of those right hand variations, and you've got the hang of the more complicated left hand pattern with the long bass, short chord, gap, and long chord, I put all those extra eighth notes in for the right hand in places such that they'll all fall in the gaps in the left hand, so you can try putting these two things together. So yeah, I'll play you this through with all of that going on. And this will be the end of the lesson. This is all I'm going to give you for now. Hope this has been useful to you and helped you get started. If you want any further help from me, then at the time I'm recording this at least, I'm available for private lessons online. So check the description or the comments for more information about where you can find me for that. But thanks very much. 3 and 4 and...